Hi, my name is Kevin. I think it's pretty well known in Wizard 101 that the polymorphs are just not good. But this video is just me explaining why they're bad and my personal opinion on how I would fix them. Now, I'm not a game developer or anything, but just from a player's perspective, this is how I would go about doing it. I think the biggest problems that I noticed, at least, were that, one, they get outshined by the other astral schools. You won't see anyone using polymorphs. And if you do, they're usually either trolling or they don't know what they're doing. Part of it has to do with the being locked into a polymorph. So 6 rounds, that's a long time, especially in high level play. I think from Azteca up, if you cast a polymorph, you're pretty much just screwed. Next, the stats are really bad, which you can see this in the Cat Bandit. 2500 health, no resist, in fact boost to life and myth. 20% damage, which is terrible. And you could say there's an upgrade for like the Pterodon, but it also has 2500 health. And it only has 50% incoming resist, and to just storm, like not even anything else. Being locked in for 6 rounds, it's pretty much a death sentence. Even like lower levels, it's like when you get it, like it's still just like terrible. All of your base spells are just better than any of the spells in a polymorph. An Ice Wizard with the right gear, even if they get the Cat Bandit at level 54, they'll still just be able to out DPS the polymorph. And at this point, most wizards will have picked up the enchants from the Sun School. So it's just not worth it. There's no point to using them at all. Now I'm gonna show you what I came up with, at least, to kind of fix that. And this will be my solution to being locked in for 6 rounds. And I have it here, just a little program I made where I have the 2 polymorphs, and if you select the polymorph, then it'll bring up the polymorph spells. And what you can do is you can cast the spell from here, and then when it gets to your turn, you cast the polymorph, and then you do the spell the same turn. The same thing with the Mander. You can click the Mander and then choose what spells you want to do. The biggest thing I saw with this was it blocks off some of the enemies, but you could just click the like the banner for the guy, and that'll target them. So while you're in the polymorph, let's say you're a gobbler, you're transformed into a gobbler, and you have all your spells. I added this little button right here. This is Wiz. When you click it, it brings up your spells, and you can see here, depending on what you're transformed into, it'll be grayed out. So I'm transformed as a gobbler, so the gobbler would be grayed out. And then you can end it early. So you can transform into a gobbler, cast a shield or heal, and then transform back into a wizard instantly, pretty much, and cast down the spell. And then this is kind of my favorite part. If you click the Mander, it'll bring up the spells underneath. So you can have a seamless transition from gobbler to Mander, or gobbler to any other thing. The one downside I can see to this is that there's a lot of spells on the screen. But if you know what you're looking for, then I think it's fine. If I click the Mander, I'm looking for a blade or a trap or anything like this. And if I'm looking for a gobbler, I'm looking for shields, heals, or these cards. And that kind of segues into my next point, which is that the point of the Sun School is to buff your cards. The Star School is pretty much buffing the player. Polymorphs don't really have that kind of role. I'm pretty sure the role is supposed to be utility, and I think they still can be, just by tweaking some of their cards a little bit. Like the gobbler, like you could see that the example, there was so many attacks, and they're all just like terrible. Especially in Celestia, when you get this, those aren't doing any damage, but there's like so many. I think if they leaned into more of the utility aspect of it and took out some of the cards like Stinky Salute, I think they could just take that out. Taco Toss, maybe it's good to have an attack on it, but if you could just seamlessly transition between your cards and the polymorphs cards, then there's like no point to even having them. So like honestly, you could take out all the attacks in the polymorph. I'd probably add in a few more defensive spells. I'd probably add Legion Shield, maybe Frozen Armor and Fortify. Oh, and Stun Block. But yeah, just a few more like defensive spells just to give it a purpose. So its purpose could be to tank, to shield, or just to stall. It doesn't have any good attacks, like, if I'm being real. And if you look at the other polymorphs, you can kind of see like the trend I'm going for. Yeah, gobbler stall, Mander support. The bandit, you could keep it as damage. Ninja Pig I think would be cool for like debuffing, and then so on for a bunch of these. Like Trent, that could just be healing. Honestly, it could just have heals. Getting into stats, I think at least the health should scale based on how much health you have. And depending on what school you are, depending on what school you're polymorphing into, it could change how much health you get from the polymorph. So if you're an Ice Wizard transforming into a Storm, or if you're transforming into the Cat Bandit, since Storm Wizards just naturally have like less health, instead of just having a set 2500 HP, it would scale based on how much HP you have. So if you have like 5,000 as an Ice Wizard, then it would scale down to like 3,000. And then vice versa. If you're a Storm Wizard and you transform into the Gobbler, then it would scale your health up since you're going into the Gobbler. And this could change based on each school. If you're a Storm transforming into a Gobbler, you would gain less you would gain more health than if you were life transforming into a goblin. I don't really have a solution when it comes to the stats. The stats for most of the polymorphs are already so bad. I don't know if having your gear translate into the polymorph or just having anything translate into the polymorph, because there's still polymorphs. Like, I understand the concept behind it is they want to be like you're completely transforming into a different being, which I get. I mean, that's part of the appeal to the polymorphs. Maybe it could scale like the health, but that would be kind of complicated. But yeah, those are just my ideas. I'm not saying this is what needs to happen for polymorphs to be good, but it would just be cool to have like more options when it came to combat and just have different like play styles, because enchants, they're just too good not to use. And even with the changes, you'd probably still get enchants anyway. Like, I can't imagine you'd actually be switching into a polymorph to do damage. That's why I think they should be more focused on utility. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. All right, bye.